And we are back, and it looks like we got a cockfighting scandal here. It says here the newspaper USA Today alleges more cockfighting ties to Ortiz brothers. A story in the Thursday edition of the USA Today alleges that the ties to cockfighting for Jose and Arad Ortiz go beyond the social media which surfaced in January showing them taking bets at an undated cockfight, documenting photos and social media posts which suggest a deeper participation in the sport. So basically what this looks like is a couple days before the Preakness, a hit piece came out against the Rooster brothers here, Foghorn and Leghorn. And NBC News did touch on this briefly during their Preakness coverage, but they didn't cover the story well enough to please the PETA lady here. Kathy, the PETA lady, says, "Really, NBC Sports? The Ortiz brothers' past involvement with cockfighting, ? It was in November, and the involvement was taking bets on the fight floor with two roosters caged in the background. It's a felony and animal cruelty. Don't downplay it. #Preakness." And here's the headline from the USA Today story. It says Jose Ortiz, Arad Ortiz Jr., and Edwin Diaz, that's Sugar Diaz of Major League Baseball fame, tied to illegal cockfighting. Buzzers are used to start a cockfight. In 2020, a federal district court upheld the prohibition of cockfighting in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, of course, being a United States territory, which would mean that for over 5 years now, cockfighting is illegal in Puerto Rico. In the USA Today article, there's this. In describing one fight, Primero Horo reported suddenly Diaz's rooster took a knife wound and fell to its knees, causing the fence judge to activate the 1-minute count. This basically goes to show you how little I know about cockfighting. There's actually someone called a fence judge. The rooster came back aggressively and won the fight, according to the article, which quoted Sugar Diaz as saying, "My rooster went down dead and got up to fight, doing what my roosters know how to do, finish fights. He did what I do when I come in to pitch in the 9th, to close out the game." Now, some people will tell you that the Ortiz brothers are these big stars of the sport. I've never bought into the concept of jockeys being stars. I think they're just vastly overrated. And if you look at the statistics for Arad Ortiz over the past year, this is from Thorograph, he's ridden in 1,598 races, and his $2 ROI, so his return on investment for a $2 win bet is just $1.49. That's a 25.5% loss on the betting dollar. The takeout's not 25.5% anywhere, not even at Penn National. So if you're just blindly betting on Arad Ortiz, you're losing double the takeout. You'd be better off throwing darts or hitting the quick pick button. And of course, this is not to say that he isn't a great jockey. He sure is a darn good jockey, but jockeys are just so overrated. This game is about horses. It is a game of horses. You can take good horses and give them to a bad rider, and that bad rider will look good. Give overmatched horses to the best riders, and they're not going to do anything with them. And think for 1 second what these statistics would look like if it was not for the CAWs. The CAWs do not overrate jockeys. This 149 would probably be about 136 if it wasn't for the CAWs. Quite simply, in horse racing, the horses are the stars. The jockeys are not the stars, the horses are the stars. And there was a stakes horse recently named Close the Game Sugar that kind of ties things together a little bit. You see Close the Game Sugar here winning a stake at Saratoga. He paid $41 to win. You see his owners here. He was owned by Sugar Diaz and by Jose Ortiz, his brother-in-law. And he was a really nice horse. You see him winning the stake here with Jose Lozcano. Jose Ortiz was on the 3rd place finisher that day. The comment, what does it say here? It says, bumped foes 16th. Now, the 2nd place finisher in this race, Private Creed, he came back to win a Grade 2 stake. It had $1 million purse at Kentucky Downs. He was 6-1 in his next start, won clear by 2.5 lengths. Dusted Close the Game Sugar in that race, but in this race, he was bumped at the 16th, as was the favorite who finished 4th, bumped at the 16th. You see, Arad Ortiz was in this race down here. He got in this breakaway speed duel with Luis Saez. They went out head-to-head, like a tearaway head-to-head speed duel. They were positioned 4 lengths in front of the next horse, and they wound up fading to finish last and second to last. But anyway, that's just horse racing for you. Things happen in every race, and, I'm sure everything was on the up and up here, just kind of a coincidental thing. You see the chart comment here for Private Creed. It says he got bumped behind by Eyewitness nearing the 16th marker. But I don't want to make too much of something like this. It is just racing. Stuff happens in horse races. But we'll take a look at another stake race that closed the game Sugar won. This race was quite controversial, and there were a lot of, comments from bettors after the race. This one here comes from an individual named Tommy Massis. His Twitter profile describes him as a gambler from Toronto, Ontario. And after the Kelly's Landing Stakes, he says the Ortiz bro should be in jail for that shit. He also added, Jose should be in the winner's circle. And it looks like a camera emoji. So we'll watch the replay here and we'll see if, if Jose did anything to help close the game Sugar win this race. All right, so here's the Kelly's Landing Stakes now. Close the game Sugar's the 6 horse with Gerard Ortiz. The 7 horse is Jose Ortiz's mount in this race. You got a breakaway speed duel up front. These two look like they should be pressing each other. And the 5 is getting a really good trip here. He looks like he should be getting the run of the race. But Jose does kind of back off here, which puts Close the Game Sugar and Gerard Ortiz in a great position. Third behind Dueling Leaders. A clear third behind Dueling Leaders is a Garden Trip. And now the 5, I think Saez on the 5 would have preferred these 2 horses press. He'd had a clear run. Jose Ortiz back here. You're going to see some contact here between the 7 and the 5. The 5 gets turned a little bit. Watch for it. There it is. So there's contact there. The 5's never really able to get out, but I didn't think there was a whole lot to this. You're going to see the 7 come kind of push. And Saez on the 5 did claim foul against Jose Ortiz in this race, and the 5 actually didn't come back to run again for about 8 or 9 months after this race. He did win his next start. So yeah, I could kind of understand why the people who gambled on the 5 were a little bit upset with, Jose Ortiz's ride on the 7 in this race. I don't think he did the 5 any favors. The race looked like it was unfolding beautifully for the 5, and he kind of backed off, left Close the Game Sugar in a garden spot, a clear third behind 2 Dueling Leaders. Then he kind of looked like he was more preoccupied with keeping the 5 in here, threw a bump, kind of turned him sideways. I doubt Luis Saez was too happy. He claimed foul against Jose Ortiz, and I think maybe you could just say that this ride wasn't one for Jose Ortiz's scrapbook. It wasn't like, a showcase ride of his, but I really don't think there was as much here in this race as, a lot of the gamblers made it out to be. But even with all that said, it is kind of a bit of a bad look that the guy who's riding the 7, his brother-in-law owns the 6, and his fellow cockfighting enthusiast, Sugar Diaz, his fellow cockfighting aficionado, also owns the 6 in part with his brother-in-law. And I'm sure all the gamblers who bet the 5 and were complaining about this race, I'm sure they didn't know all those details. But that's how gamblers are, they'll lose a bet and they'll get frustrated and say things. And that they needed to just go on Twitter and voice their displeasure with Mr. Ortiz here after this fine ride. But anyway, that's life in the big city and racing. Close the Game Sugar, good stake horse. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on the cockfighting story. To me, this is a sport about horses. So when I read a story like this and these 3 names here, when you think of these 3 names, for me, I think of a horse. And the horse I think of is Close the Game Sugar. Very nice horse. He won his debut race at Saratoga. Webslinger was very unlucky that day, but Close the Game Sugar, nice horse. And I've got no opinion on cockfighting, don't know anything about it. Didn't even know that they have something called fencers or that they use buzzers to start the fight or anything like that. I guess it's outlawed, illegal even in Puerto Rico for 5 years. Who knew? But with that story out of the way, I'm going to show you a disqualification that happened on May 12th at Assiniboia Downs. This was one of the worst disqualifications I've ever seen. You can watch it now and tell me what you think.
Ladies and gentlemen, directing your attention to the television monitors is the inquiry and objection tape from race number 3. Pay special attention to in yellow in front. That's number 4, Rockets Red Flare. And to the outside, to the left of your screen, that's number 6, Please the Court. This is the pan or side shot. The objection was 6-on-4. As you see, the 4 is in the lead. 6 is coming up. And it was right there. Here's the head-on shot from the South Tower. Pay special attention in yellow. That's number 4, Rockets Red Flare. To the outside is number 6, Please the Court. In black, the objection was 6-on-4. And right there, in the Stewart's decision, it warranted a disqualification.
The stewards flat out got that one wrong. I mean, that's about as bad a DQ as I've ever seen. The 4 should have been left up. The incident did not cost the 6 a chance at a better placing. It had no impact on the outcome of the race whatsoever. The bettors simply deserve better than they're getting from this sport. But sadly, the views from the powers that be, Foghorn and Leghorn, those are our superstars. We got to protect them at all costs. But forget about marketing the horses and forget about the wagering public. Let's feed the wagering public a bunch of short fields. Let's let the CAWs feast on them. Let's give them these stupid bad DQs like this. I mean, come on, please. If they just focus on the horses and the betting public and forget about everything else, all these problems would go away. But no, the stars of the sport have got to be the jockeys. They're so important, the jockeys. Let's protect them at all costs. Let's cover for them. Just stop it. It is about the horses and the betting public and nothing else. Forget about jockeys. They aren't the stars of this sport. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.